I never thought betrayal could cut this deep. Sarah, my beautiful wife of 21 years, had a secret that shattered my world. It began with innocent late nights and work weekends. But when I found her with that smug boss of hers on a boat, I knew I had to uncover the truth. My drone revealed more than I could bear. I watched in horror as the woman I loved engaged in a debauchery that ripped my heart apart. Now I stand on the edge of vengeance, ready to make them all pay. This is my story of betrayal and retribution. $250. You spent $250 on batteries for a toy plane. Saying my wife Sarah was upset is an understatement. How many times have I told you this isn't a toy? I decided not to mention that the 2 packs of batteries I just received cost $250 each. Not together. Drone, you still spent over $1,000 on a bunch of useless plastic, aluminum, and electric motors, and now you've also spent $250 on more batteries. Technically, it's a professional hexacopter, I replied, but I thought it wouldn't be wise to tell her that I actually spent over $2,500 on this big spider-like thing. I don't care what you call it. It's still a useless toy that you're wasting money on, money we could be saving for our vacation. It's not useless. I've already been paid for 2 aerial photos from a realtor, and I have 3 more scheduled in the next 2 weeks. 5 or 6 of these jobs will pay back what I spent, and the rest will be profit. If only your boss had listened to me. You would have had aerial photos of all your sites for half the price I charge other agencies. And if I had had this drone last year when Jefferson and Murphy were shot, we could have caught the shooter before he hid his weapon in the woods. We would have had more evidence. And if I can sell this idea to more departments, I can retire early and make drones commercially. No matter what you say, you'll never grow up. You will always be a dreamer. If it were as simple as you think, everyone would be doing it. Well, I definitely appreciate your trust in my abilities. Trust? Don't make me laugh. I don't know why everyone thinks you're so smart and can do anything you want. I remember you used to think I was smart, and you told people I could do anything I set my mind to. So maybe others' opinions of me aren't that far off. Well, we've been married for 21 years, and you don't make much more than when we got married. So despite all your brains, we don't seem to be doing very well, do we? She used her fingers to make air quotes around the word brains. Even I earn twice as much as you. Still, my salary is enough to cover the mortgage and all the utilities. It's amazing how this works out. Unfortunately, law enforcement doesn't make anyone rich. At least, not an honest cop. You could get your degree and become a lawyer, and then we'd never have to worry about money. It wouldn't matter how much money I made, we'd still be scraping by 3 days before payday. How many pairs of shoes do you have in your closet? How many have you worn more than twice? How many suits and handbags still have tags and will probably never be worn? I saw a receipt from Ulta for over $200. How much makeup do you need to be a successful realtor? You've been hinting for 2 weeks that you want to trade in your 2-year-old car for a new model. My truck is 19 years old. You've had over half a dozen new cars since we got married, so don't complain about spending money. At least what I spend money on makes me a profit. My clothes and cosmetics give me a return on my investment. I need them for my career. Really? The only payoff I've seen is that you work late almost every evening and on weekends. We even canceled our plans for the 4th of July so you could finish work at the office. I rarely see you. And when I do, you're either unhappy or in a rush to get out the door to do something else. We haven't used our bed for anything other than sleeping for over 4 months. That's not true. I know it's been a while, but it hasn't been 4 months since we had sex. Honey, it was May 8th, our anniversary. And I almost had to beg you then because your boss wanted you to work late. And you were so angry that we both just wanted to get it over with and forget it. Not long ago, you couldn't go a week without intimacy. You didn't try to start anything, and every time I tried, you had some excuse to turn me down. She looked a bit shocked for a moment, then lowered her gaze and turned away. I spoke more calmly. Listen, honey, it's been a long week, and we haven't done anything together on a Saturday in months. Why don't we fill up the tank tomorrow morning and go to the mountains, maybe Helen or Blairsville, and spend the day exploring the tourist shops? I'm going with Jessica to her dad's to hang out by the pool. I'm sure my face showed how irritated I felt, but she didn't seem to notice. This will be, what? The 6th weekend in a row that you've gone with Jessica? Are these your priorities? Would you rather spend the day by the pool in Kingston with Jessica than with me in the mountains? Who else will be there? Someone from the office. Now you're going to tell me who I can and can't hang out with. You're going to decide how I should spend my time. She looked angry. I don't need your permission for anything, and I won't answer to you about who I spend my time with. You're absent all the time, and you want to question me about where I go? It's none of your business who I talk to. You were against Jessica from the start. You never liked her. You want to ruin all my friendships so I can sit at home under your control with no one else to spend time with. I stood there, stunned, not believing what I had just heard. Am I away all the time? I only go to work. I don't hang out with guys. I don't go to sports events, races, bars, or clubs. If I leave the house, I always want you with me. But you always find a reason to say no. I never told you where you should be. And I never expected you to ask my permission for anything. As for Jessica, no, I don't love her. She cheated on her 3 husbands. She got divorced 3 times. I don't think she is a good example for a married woman. But I never tried to stop you from being friends with her. You know what? Fine. Go hang out with Jessica tomorrow. I still need to test these new batteries for my model planes. I know you don't like playing with toy planes. I turned away from her shocked face and walked through the kitchen into the backyard. I went into the shed where I worked on my hexacopter and started packing my things for tomorrow. Later that evening, when Sarah came to bed, she wore long pajamas. She lay far from me, facing away, and fell asleep without saying a word. I lay there, thinking about what happened to our marriage. Why did we take different paths? Looking back, I kept coming to the same thought. Sarah's job. Something changed after she started working at Sutton's real estate agency. I remembered a few work events I went to when she was first hired. I noticed I hadn't been invited to any for over a month. At those events, most people were women. There were a few husbands and boyfriends, a guy who seemed single, and the agency owner, Paul Sutton. Paul was always with a much younger blonde woman who looked like she'd had plastic surgery, like his wife Carmen. Paul was loud and rude, always making crude jokes and comments. He had no respect for personal space, constantly touching everyone, but never in a way that felt wrong. Most people ignored him, and the only woman he focused on was his wife. I knew I could never be friends with him. I never trusted him. At those events, nothing seemed suspicious. Nothing made me think anyone from the agency was acting badly. But I do remember Sarah being so proud to introduce me to her colleagues. She held my hand and smiled, never leaving my side for more than a few minutes. Now, just over 6 months later, she seemed to hate my company. I tried to figure out what I did to ruin our relationship. Did I work too much? In law enforcement, the hours and stress destroy many relationships. High stress affects not just the officer, but also the partner who worries if this shift will be their last. Such relationships often don't last long. But I couldn't find anything that changed in my life during that time but her job. I had been in the same CID position for years, and we didn't have these problems. So it came back to her job. We would have to talk about this. But after she accused me of being controlling, I wanted to wait. That night, I hardly slept. I woke up just in time to see Sarah in the kitchen in a beach robe, packing towels and sunscreen into a big, colorful bag. "What should I buy for dinner today?" I asked. Without stopping packing her beach bag or looking at me, she said, "You should take care of yourself today. Jessica and I are going shopping and getting our nails done, so we'll eat while we're out. I might stay the night if we drink wine." I didn't know if she was trying to get a reaction from me because she knew I didn't like Jessica, but I didn't say anything. I just watched her leave through the garage door and drive away in her car. I spent the next 2 hours mowing the lawn, thinking deeply. I never thought I had a reason to doubt Sarah or her love for me. I knew our relationship lost the excitement of the first years of marriage, but I thought it was still strong and comfortable, like an old chair. It was my safe place from the harsh world I faced at work. Maybe our marriage didn't give Sarah the same comfort. Maybe comfort wasn't what she wanted. But I started to realize that Sarah didn't see me as a worthy husband anymore. I wasn't sure if she was seeing another man. I didn't want to think it could be true, but now I wasn't so sure. Who could it be? She never talked about anyone. She hardly told me anything unless she had to. The only person she mentioned was No, wait. I let go of the lawnmower handle, and the engine stopped. I suddenly felt like I needed some water. I stood in front of the fridge, enjoying the cool air. It was a hot August morning in Georgia, and it was only going to get hotter. My thoughts went back to Sarah. What had changed with her? Could she really have changed so much in just 6 months? I couldn't think of any time she even seemed interested in being with another woman. As far as I knew, she found the idea disgusting. No, it couldn't be possible. But still, that didn't explain what was really going on. I decided to find out where Jessica's father lived. I thought maybe I could take Sarah and Jessica out for lunch. That way, no one would have to drive after drinking. Maybe Sarah would like that. I included Jessica. I thought they might like something from Chicken Salad Chick. I heard women talking about the new restaurant in town, so I opened the Life 360 app on my phone to see where Sarah was. But the app just said, "Location paused since 7:55. Now I was worried. Why did she turn off Life 360? Was she hiding something from me? I felt dizzy, like when you stand up too fast. It was like a storm inside my head. But I still hoped. I looked at my watch. It was 10:16. Over 2 hours since she paused the app, which we had installed over a year ago. Sarah wanted to know where I was while I was at work so she could call for help if something happened. I never told her that our patrol cars have GPS trackers and dispatchers always know where we are. I let her think the app was important for my safety. Was that the real reason she suggested it? Or did she have another reason for wanting to know where I was all the time? I hoped she had just paused the app and not turned off my phone's GPS. I turned on my laptop and opened iCloud, launching the Find My iPhone app. I don't like Apple products and prefer Samsung and Android, but Sarah always wanted the latest iPhone. Since I had to make sure each new phone had all the necessary apps, I could easily log in and track her phone on the map. It showed she was at Lake Allatoona, not where she said she would be. Maybe Jessica's dad has a boat, and they went to the lake. Deep down, I knew I was trying to find a reasonable excuse for something I didn't want to believe. But until yesterday, I never thought my wife could be anything other than loyal to me and our marriage. I opened Google Earth on my laptop to get the GPS coordinates of where the app showed her phone. The satellite image confirmed she was at a remote part of Lake Allatoona, not at her friend's pool. I looked for a spot to park near the lake. It wasn't a direct line of sight, but I could reach the lake from Cooper's Branch boat launch in about half an hour. Since I wanted to test my new drone batteries, I figured I could get there in about 45 minutes. I loaded my equipment into the truck and used SkyVector to check the airspace. Most of the lake was in an uncontrolled air area, so I wouldn't have to worry about nearby airports. I closed the site and opened Mission Planner on my laptop, planning the drone flight. I saw 2 possible routes. The first was just over 3 miles, staying over open water with 5 waypoints to reach the cove. The second was a bit shorter, crossing 3 pieces of land. If I took the water route, I could fly lower and stay out of radar range. I had never flown the drone that far before. Even though my high-power video transmitter and 16-channel digital transmitter should work from that distance, I wasn't completely sure. The flight would take about 7 or 8 minutes each way. This was just within the battery life of my new 12,000 mAh LiPo battery packs, which people had criticized me for using. I knew this flight would be pushing my limits. Technically, I was breaking the law by flying beyond my sight, risking my license to fly commercially. If the drone malfunctioned, it could hurt someone or cause damage. But my life had changed so much in the last 24 hours that thinking ahead didn't seem important. The lake was 840 feet above sea level, so I set the drone to fly at 950 feet. This kept me under the legal limit of 400 feet above ground. I could have flown directly, but avoiding all obstacles would take too long. I wanted to start quickly. I worried that Sarah might notice my drone and check my location using the same app I used to catch her lying. So I went to a store half a mile from home and bought a cheap prepaid cell phone for $48. I forwarded calls from my Galaxy S9 to this new phone. Then I left the Samsung on its charger by my bed, packed my gear into the truck, and headed east on US Highway 411 towards Carterville. After 33 minutes, I parked at the Cooper's Branch boat ramp. There were only 2 people there, a woman with dark hair in her mid-20s, and a young red-haired girl, about 4 or 5 years old, playing with a ball. No boats or trailers were nearby, so I didn't expect anyone to bother me. I set up my tripod with directional antennas and a signal booster near the picnic table by the lake. I opened my laptop, plugged in the telemetry receiver, and launched Mission Planner. Once my ground equipment was ready, I took out the Taro 690 hexacopter from its case. I unfolded and locked its arms and attached a heavy battery pack to the bottom with Velcro and nylon safety straps. I connected the battery, and the drone came to life, showing its wires, antennas, and a GoPro camera on a gimbal below. If the drone crashed into the lake, it would sink to the bottom, 145 feet deep. Recovery would be impossible. I turned on the transmitter and base station, loaded my flight plan, and connected the battery to the drone again. None of the motors started running, thankfully. I did my pre-flight checks, ensuring all cables and parts were correctly attached, and tested the motors before putting on the 13-inch carbon propellers. I captured the GPS coordinates of the launch point and entered them into the mission planner. After flashing the flight plan into the drone's onboard computer, I was ready. As I checked the video monitor for the drone's signal, I heard a clear voice behind me asking, "What is that?" I turned and saw bright blue eyes and felt a wave of sadness that vanished quickly. I imagined a life with my daughter, watching her grow from a baby to a young woman walking down the aisle. But these were just fantasies. We couldn't have more children after complications during the birth of our son. My dreams of raising a daughter stayed dreams. I never felt regret. After the surgeon told me my wife would recover and be healthy, I was happy and excited about our family's future. "Katie, I told you not to bother him," the woman said. "She's not bothering me," I replied. "I'm just testing some new equipment." I made sure the flight plan was set in the autopilot and started the flight from my laptop. The hexacopter lifted off, rising to about 10 feet above the ground. It did a full turn to the left, then another to the right, and stopped, facing the marina with its big boats, holding steady in the air. After it passed the compass test, the hexacopter paused, then climbed higher and sped up. It reached its first checkpoint over the lake, then turned left towards the second checkpoint and soon disappeared behind some trees. I heard a woman's voice behind me. "Are you sure Kate and I aren't bothering you? If you need to focus, we can leave," she said. "No, you're not bothering me, but I might not be very good company. In about 8 minutes, I might see something I don't want to see," I replied. "What's wrong? Is everything okay?" she asked nervously. "You're safe," I assured her. "I found out this morning that my wife's phone might be in the cove across the lake. She said she was going to her friend's pool in Kingston. I've noticed some strange things lately, and I need to know the truth before my imagination drives me crazy." She gave me a sad look. I glanced back at my laptop and saw that the drone had reached the second checkpoint and had turned towards the third one. Kate, her daughter, touched my arm, her innocent eyes on the monitor showing the video feed from the drone. "It's beautiful. It feels like I'm flying," Kate said with a smile. I smiled back at her. The drone was near the third waypoint and would soon hit the fourth one. I looked at the mother and said, "If you open the toolbox in my truck, you'll find some Frisbee discs. Why don't you and Kate play for a bit?" "You're right," she said. "Kate, come here, honey. Mr. Sean has something for us." She turned to me and I nodded. Reluctantly, Kate got off the bench and walked to her mom, taking the blue Frisbee disc from her. I returned to my laptop, making sure the video was recording, and noted that the battery was still 73% full. The drone reached the fourth waypoint just outside the bay entrance and climbed to 400 feet. I put on my goggles to see the video clearer and held the transmitter. I didn't plan to control the drone unless needed, but I wanted to guide the camera. The drone circled the bay, descending from 400 to 200 feet. The video showed 2 boats in the bay, and my heart sank. I heard a sad, "Oh no," from behind me. Even though I couldn't see her face, I knew the mother saw what I saw. I only hoped Kate didn't see. The 2 boats were moored together at the bay's corner, and I saw 3 people I recognized among several others. I trained the camera on the scene, and a voice behind me asked, "Is one of them your wife?" "Yes," I said. "Are you sure?" At that moment, one of the women on the boat noticed the drone and stood up, breaking away from the man she was with. "Yes, I'm sure," I confirmed. I took off the goggles, disconnected the battery, and put everything back in the case. I knew I had less than a minute to get ready before a call came in. Right then, my phone rang. I answered in the calmest voice I could manage. Hello? Hey, Sean. What are you planning for dinner tonight? Sarah asked. I was thinking of grilling a burger and spending some time in the workshop. What are you doing now? I replied. Just finished mowing the backyard. I might get some gas and mow the front. So, are you home? Yes. Why? I asked. You mentioned testing your new batteries last night. I thought you might want to do that, she said. The batteries are charging now. I'll probably fly around the yard while the grill heats up, I said. Okay. Is everything all right? You sound off. Should I come back from Kingston? No, it's okay, she said, but sounded unsure. I was just laying in the sun and wanted to make sure you had something to eat tonight. That's interesting. Why the sudden concern when you haven't really talked to me in months? Why did your mood change? I was just lying here, thinking about our talks last night and this morning. I think we should try to get back on the same page as before. Justice, Sarah. Yeah, if you still want, maybe next Saturday we can go to the mountains like you wanted today. We can find an Airbnb and stay the night. That would be nice, right? How about I get you a change of clothes and come get you? Then we can have a nice dinner tonight. I can jump in the shower and be there in 30 minutes. No, we still have the procedure for this afternoon, and we will lose the deposit if we cancel now. We can do it next week. Let's see. Then I ended the call. Did she find out it was you? I cleared my suddenly dry throat and looked at her. I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe she sees it as a bad sign, a warning of what could happen to my toy, and she might think she got away with it. She believes, or wants to believe, I'm home. The first thing she did after seeing the drone was check the Life 360 app on her phone to see where I was. Seeing the confused look on the young mother's face, I picked up my cheap Kyocera prepaid phone. I bought it at a convenience store this morning. My real phone is charging at home, and I forwarded calls from it to this one off Cunningham. I knew that if she was smart enough to pause location sharing, she would check where I was if she saw a drone. I'm glad I thought of that. Otherwise, I would have lost that element of doubt she has. For the first time in over 20 years, I lied to my wife. I'm terrible at lying, but I didn't think I could do it convincingly. But I did, and it felt too easy. She said with a slight smile, it seemed odd that someone who understands all this tech would carry such a phone. I nodded and smiled halfway. I was planning my next steps when the girl's voice sounded again. He's coming back. I see him. I had forgotten about my drone, but now I heard the hum of its motors and propellers. I glanced at the laptop screen and saw the battery level was at 37%. Just before the drone hovered, then descended and landed on the ground less than 2 feet from where it took off 20 minutes ago. I erased the flight plan, packed my base station and other gear. Kate stood next to me and asked about the glasses I was wearing. I looked at you and couldn't see your eyes. How do you see through them? They let me see what my drone sees. Do you want to watch? I asked, looking at her mother, who nodded. Yes, 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 Kate screamed, jumping up and down. I told her she'd need to sit on her mom's lap because the glasses might make her dizzy, and I didn't want her to fall. You remember how you said watching the screen felt like flying on an airplane? Well, these glasses will make you really feel like flying. I connected the battery to the goggles and fit them on Kate's head. I asked if she was ready, then turned the transmitter on and connected the battery to the drone. After asking Kate if she was ready, I activated the drone's flight controller. The drone took off, and Kate's shout of wonder made me smile, even as my heart felt heavy. I flew around the picnic area and parking lot before Kate took off the goggles and insisted her mother try it. I brought the drone back and landed it on the truck's tailgate, then started packing. Once everything was packed, I turned to see the young mother and her excited daughter by the picnic table. The young mother and I spoke at the same time. Thank you, thank you. I gave her a questioning look and she began to speak. I don't know why we came here today. We've never been here before and I'm shocked Kate even spoke to you. But more than that, I don't know why I didn't grab Kate and leave as soon as I saw you get out of your truck. But you looked so lost and in pain that I wasn't scared, and I don't know why I'm going to do what I'm about to do next. I know you're not thinking about anything else right now, but I want to thank you for making Kate feel special for the last hour. She's never had positive attention from any man, and you gave her hope. My name is Samantha Kelly, but people call me Sam. Suddenly, I felt dizzy. My face must have turned pale because Samantha immediately looked worried. I raised my right hand, palm facing her, and shook my head. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm fine," I replied. "If we had more time, I'd explain it to you. But it doesn't matter." I didn't want to dig into why my mind wandered when I first saw Kate's eyes. I also didn't want to explain that I had chosen the name Samantha Caitlin for my future daughter long before I met my wife. Samantha watched me for a bit, then reached for the prepaid phone in my left hand. "Don't use this phone because I know you'll just throw it away after you get home, but before you do, put this number in your real phone. When you're ready to talk to someone, send it to me so I can have your number too." I extended my hand to her phone. "Let me see your phone." As I added a new contact to her Samsung Galaxy S9, I gave a half-serious smile. "Thank you, Samantha. I'm glad you and Kate were here today. I'm glad you didn't run away when you saw me drive up. And I'm especially glad Miss Kate spoke to me first. Her smile could bring peace to the world. I don't know how I would cope if I was alone here, so thanks for everything." "When can I fly on a plane again, Mr. Sean?" Kate asked. "I don't know, Miss Kate, but maybe someday." I climbed into the driver's seat of my truck and spoke to Samantha through the open passenger window. "I need to start some things. I have about 1,000,000 thoughts in my head, and I know that soon I will need to talk to someone about what's going on. It would be nice to talk to someone who hasn't known Sarah or me for years, who might have a fresh view. And if you're really interested in talking, I'd like to give you a call. I don't know how fresh my view can be for several reasons, but I know how you feel, and I can definitely tell you what to expect in the coming weeks. I hope you decide to call. I'd love to hear from you. Just remember that no matter how painful it is now, it will get worse before it gets better. Think things through before making any big decisions quickly. You might end up doubting yourself for months." I have a question for you, Samantha. Do nail salons make you leave a deposit when you sign up? None of the ones I used. They were all just places to go. I never even booked in advance. Thank you, Samantha, again. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you next week. I stopped at the butcher shop on Main Street in Cartersville and bought a 2-inch ribeye steak before heading home. I decided that if my life was going to change, I would try to enjoy every turn. I sat on an Adirondack chair on the back deck, waiting for the coals in the grill to be ready, reflecting on the past few days. I began to remember the small, seemingly unimportant events that had happened over the past few months. The changes were so slow that I missed them. I noticed less love and touch between us. I had talked to Sarah about it many times, but she kept saying she was tired and stressed at work. It had been years since we had been close like we used to be when we first got together. I had accepted that our marriage had lost the passion we once had. I hoped that now that our son had left home, we would have a chance to find that passion again. But my hope slowly faded away. No, now that hope is completely gone. My marriage is over and it's a certain fact. But I was thinking about my options. Should I just file for divorce and start a new chapter in my life? Or should I make a scene on my way out? Was I ready to confront Sarah when she got home? Or should I wait until my plans were in order, or at least ready to start before the big confrontation? I wanted to talk to Donovan, our son, who serves on a U.S. Navy nuclear submarine, but he was on a mission and could be anywhere in the world, and we might not have contact for up to 6 months. So I wasn't sure when he would get a message from home. Where would I live? I never liked the house that Sarah fell in love with when we got married, but I wouldn't mind living in a cabin, and the mortgage was almost paid off, so we had a lot of money that we would need to split in the divorce. One thing was for sure. I would never live in an apartment complex or near the city again. I would find a house in the countryside, maybe an old country house that I could fix up with some land, or maybe a lot on one of the rivers or lakes in the area where I could build a boathouse to store the boat I was building. If I didn't stay in my current job, I might move to the mountains of northern Georgia and find a spot on a trout river. No matter what hardships were ahead, I knew that when it was over, I would be happy again. I would be happy with my life. The banks closed at noon, so I couldn't start separating and transferring finances until Monday. I figured I could contact Verizon and Xfinity online and cancel those services next week once I filed the paperwork. The first thing I should have done was call Ted and ask him to write up the divorce papers and file them as soon as court opened on Monday. As I dialed his number, I got ready for his surprise. No one, including myself, expected such betrayal from Sarah or me. But after almost 6 months of this, someone must have had doubts. I couldn't believe she kept such a huge secret from everyone. I decided to call some others to see if they noticed anything. Sean, what's up? Are you ready to go fishing? The cabin is burnt, but I've caught some amazing rainbow trout from the Tocoa River this year. Maybe sooner than I thought. To be honest, no, this is both personal and work-related. Sounds serious. Hopefully nothing happened at work. I haven't heard anything bad on the news. No, not work. And it's even worse than you can imagine. It's Sarah. Please don't tell me it's Sarah. I'm sorry, I wish it wasn't true, but yes, it's Sarah. I need you to file the papers as soon as possible. Monday morning if you can. I want to keep it quick and clean. Can you take on this case? I mostly do criminal defense now. But 10 or 12 years ago, I worked mostly on divorces. I'll handle it for you. Just tell me what you want and what happened. I need to know if this is because of something she did or if you found someone else and think the grass is greener. If it's the latter, I might refer you to another lawyer. I've only ever wanted Sarah. I have proof she was with 2 guys on a boat on Lake Altoona today. It's been going on for at least 6 weeks. You mean she was physically involved with these men? Yes, undeniable proof. Not a misunderstanding or false info. I have a video of it from a few hours ago. How did you get the video? Who gave it to you? I recorded it myself using a drone I built after the shooting last year, the one we tried to get funding for. I understand. We'll need to check the legal side of getting this video without a warrant. You probably know the rules already, right? Yes, they were out in the open on 2 boats tied together, in broad daylight, visible to anyone on the lake or flying by. If this is all true, there shouldn't be a problem with using the video. Rules for evidence aren't the same for civil cases as criminal cases. It's good you followed the law, though. Thanks. Let's talk about splitting our stuff. I want an equal split. Personal items stay with their owners. 50-50 on joint accounts and no alimony as she makes twice my salary. We'll appraise the house and property. She can pay me my half or we sell and split the money. Each of us keeps our retirement savings, and with our son grown and in the military, no child support. We keep our cars and small things like phones and take our own bills. I don't want to pay for her and don't want anything from her. I think you might be talking about a lawsuit for breaking up the marriage. Not many states allow that anymore. Georgia doesn't. It's an older law. Well, let's get started. This seems fair to me, thanks. How much for an advance payment? I'll give you a family discount, don't worry. Thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for your help. But I can't let you treat me differently than others. It shouldn't show any favoritism. I'm looking into any defense where you might have an influence. I can't risk any case I'm handling. This is a line I won't cross, no matter what. While this opportunity is tempting, I must say, not all lawyers are corrupt. Strong ethics matter a lot to me. I'll give you the best representation and my services will be easy to access. And let's keep this purely as an act of friendship. Thanks, I replied. Hey, don't get me wrong, I'm not a jerk, but I need to see the video you mentioned. It might be important for negotiations. Yes, I know, I'll email it now. Let me get my laptop from home. From home? Where are you now? I'm on the patio, waiting for the grill to heat up. I bought a steak, and I'm cooking it for dinner here. When is Sarah coming home? Not today. She plans to stay overnight at her friend Jessica's. They might go to the lake. So I don't expect her today unless she changes her plans because something scares her. Well, how about I bring a steak and come over to your place? We can watch the video together. You can show me the drone and its features. Who knows, I might hire you as a private investigator someday. Do you have extra potatoes and bread? I have baking potatoes and mushrooms, but no bread. Okay, I'll grab some Texas toast. This will be great. I have some amber beer in the workshop fridge and a nearly full bottle of Woodford Reserve. I'll be there in 30 minutes. By then, the coals were almost white, and I knew they'd burn out before Ted arrived. So I added more coal to the grill. Then I went into the kitchen to wash another potato and wrap it in foil. I set up the table on the terrace with plates and cutlery near the grill. I checked the grill again, noticed the charcoal was turning white, and put them under a third of the grill. I placed the potatoes on another part of the grill and closed the lid. Once the potatoes were cooking, I brought my laptop and drone outside. When Ted arrived, we prepared our steaks with oil, salt, pepper, garlic, and a bit of onion powder, then started grilling them. "How do you like your steak, Ted? A bit more cooked than medium rare, please." I laughed. "Yeah, I have a friend who says a well-cooked steak should still look like it could walk away." "So, this is the drone you mentioned?" "Yes, it has 6 motors and propellers. Is this how you bought it?" "No, I collected the parts and built it myself." Ted smirked and shook his head slowly. "Well, let's watch the video." I turned the laptop so we could both see it. The video started with the drone on the grass, facing the lake. It rose into the air, turned left to show the lake, then spun 360 degrees before pausing. "Wait, who is this woman and little girl?" "I thought you weren't seeing anyone," Ted asked. "I'm not. I didn't know them. They were having a picnic near the lake when I arrived. The girl, Katie, was interested in the drone and wanted to see it fly." The video then rose and moved across the lake toward a marina. It turned left, headed east for a bit, then turned right again, moving south. The drone went over hills and trees, entered a bay, and showed 2 boats. The scene on the boats was clear as the drone circled and descended, keeping the camera on the people below. "Do you recognize anyone besides Sarah?" Ted asked. "Yes, that's Jessica, Sarah's divorced friend, and the man next to the blonde in the hat is Sarah's boss, Paul Sutton. The other guys are unfamiliar, but I saw at least 2 of them at the country club. They were talking about buying real estate at the bar last week. James, the one with a can in his hand, was telling Frank, who is behind Sarah, about a good real estate agent who could help him find the best home." Everything started to make sense. Knowing the truth wasn't comforting, but it was something. After dinner, I explained how the hexacopter worked to Ted. We talked about its uses for surveillance and other things. After Ted left, I thought about what we had discussed. I remembered some more points I needed to talk to him about in the coming days, then I got ready for bed. That night, I slept alone. I didn't expect Sarah to come home, and I realized I didn't mind. This bothered me. Why wasn't I more upset by Sarah's betrayal earlier when I saw clear evidence of her actions? Felt sick at first, but now I just felt numb. How could I lose love for someone I've been with for more than 20 years so quickly and easily? Why didn't I see the obvious signs earlier? They've been clear, especially over the past month. In investigative training, instructors teach you not to use certain techniques on your loved ones. These techniques don't work well on people close to you because they feel at ease around you. The tension needed to reveal hidden guilt isn't there. Often, these techniques give false results when used on someone who trusts the examiner. No one wants to believe their partner would lie and cheat. But when faced with undeniable proof, a person has 2 choices. Some say there are more options, but I don't think so. First, he can accept the betrayal and stay. He can try to make peace with his partner and hope she won't cheat again or agree to her behavior. Second, he can admit what happened and leave her to face the results of her actions. I was tempted to respond with anger and leave a mess behind, but I preferred a more strategic approach. I wasn't prepared to stay and wait for her to ask for forgiveness, counting down the days until the next betrayal. No, if she chose to cheat now, she'll do it again. And I won't live like that. This chapter is over. It's time to move on. I woke up much earlier than usual on Sunday morning. Maybe I didn't sleep at all. Either way, I was up before dawn, packing everything I wanted to take with me. As the sun began to shine through the windows on the east side of the house, I stopped to make a quick breakfast of bacon, eggs, and toast. While eating, I called my old friend Jim Wheeler, a detective who works with me, and told him what happened. He was just as shocked as I expected. During our conversation, I told him where Sarah worked and that I caught her cheating. I believed she'd been cheating for at least 6 weeks, maybe as long as 4 months. I also told him I had started packing my things and planned to move out as soon as I found a place, even if it was just a motel. "Are you saying Sarah works at Sutton Real Estate on Broad Street?" Jim asked. "Yeah, she's been there for about 6 months. You need to talk to Detective Conrad from the city." "Stephanie Conrad? Yes, I know her. We don't talk much, but we've exchanged greetings. Why should I talk to her?" "You need to meet her. She needs to see the video you made. I'll send you her contact info. Call her right after we hang up." "Okay, I'll call to see if she's working today or on call. No, she's at home now. You'll get her card soon. I just sent it to your phone. My phone beeped with a text notification. I saved the info as a new contact. I saved her contact. I'll call her as soon as we're done. So what's the deal with Conrad? How do you have her contact on speed dial, and how do you know she's off today? Why do I need to show her my video? We went on dates a couple of times before I started seeing Rachel, and Conrad has been investigating Sutton real estate for a few months now. There's a rumor they're running a brothel to boost sales. If your info is right, it could be more than just a rumor. Okay, I need to make more calls. I need to find somewhere to stay until I find a permanent place. And yes, I'll call Conrad. Do you know David Hunter? Jim asked. Yeah, day shift sergeant? Yep. He mentioned he has a house on the lake or a camper near you. He might rent it out. Give him a call. It might be perfect for you until you find something permanent. Thanks, I appreciate your help. Let's meet up soon and go fishing or have a barbecue. Sounds great, you bring the beer. I ended the call and decided to call David Hunter first. Hello? Hey, Dave, how are you? Not bad, Gilmore. Just keeping an eye on things with current public opinion towards police. How are you? Well, to be honest, not great. I just found out Sarah has been cheating on me for a while now, and I'm moving out. They told me you have a place by the river that you want to rent out. Yeah, it's just off Hardin Bridge Road. Do you know it? Yes, I do. I'm not sure how long I'll need it. Just until I find something more permanent. But I'd like to pick up my things before lunch today if possible. Hopefully before Sarah gets home. That's fine. How soon can you be ready to meet me there? I checked my watch. It was 7:43 a.m. I've already gathered most of my clothes and personal items. I don't need much. Most of my important things are in the workshop. I'll have to grab my tools and equipment later once I find a place to store them. At the Hardin Bridge site, there's an old barn with a dirt floor. The walls are falling apart, but the roof is solid and it's dry inside. There's no electricity, but you can store your tools and anything else that won't fit in the camper until you find another place. Sounds great. I can be there in an hour to meet you and get the keys if that's okay. I ended the call after he gave me the address and directions to an unmarked gate on the property. When I arrived, Dave was standing at a cattle gate leading through a fence overgrown with blackberries, honeysuckle, and cedar trees into a small clearing next to what seemed to be an old house, which had burned down or was destroyed long ago. He led me across the clearing, along an almost invisible path, and about 50 yards into the trees on the opposite side. Hidden in a grove was a modern and well-kept 25-feet camper with 2 slide-outs and a retractable awning. The camper was right on the riverbank, about 20 feet above the water. I got out of the truck and shook Dave's hand. I said, "Wow, I might decide to stay here. It's beautiful." He replied, "Well, I might be tempted to sell the whole place if someone makes a good offer. I've thought about it for years, but I just couldn't let someone I don't know and trust take over. If you're serious, maybe we can talk once I'm done with this case in the next few weeks." "No problem. Here are your keys. Rent covers the electricity, but you will have to refill the propane tanks for the heater and stove. The water is from a well 250 feet deep and is clear and sweet. Let me show you the gray water tank. There's no septic tank here. When it's almost full, you can disconnect the hose and it's ready to go. You can pour it out next to the boat dock. Removal is free. It belongs to the county." "Thanks. I need to unload my stuff and try to grab as much of my tools and equipment as possible before Sarah gets home. When I meet her, I prefer not to return to the house more often than needed. Honestly, I don't trust myself. I'm too calm about it, and it worries me. I'm pretty good at keeping things separate and controlling my anger, but I'd rather not take risks." As it turned out, I didn't need to worry. I made 2 more trips and picked up enough to be sure that if I didn't get anything else from the house, I wouldn't regret it. I stored my tools and my project boat in a surprisingly large shed on the Hardin Bridge property and returned to my new spot on the riverbank. By 4 p.m., I still hadn't heard anything from Sarah. Sitting in a folding chair by a circle of stones around a small fire, sipping a beer and watching the water flow below, I remembered I promised to call Stephanie Conrad. So I picked up the phone and dialed her number. "Hello? Hi, Detective Conrad. How are you this evening? Gilmore Wheeler said you'd call, but I expected a call a couple of hours ago." "Yes, sorry about that. I was moving today and didn't get a chance earlier. He didn't tell me much. He said you have a video I need to see urgently. Said it was related to one of my active investigations." "That's what he told me too. I can meet you tomorrow. either at your office or we can meet for lunch somewhere if you prefer. I'd rather see the video today if possible. I hesitated. To be honest, it's been a long day. A long weekend, actually. I'm tired, and I've already had a couple of beers. I'm afraid I'm busy for the evening. It's okay. I can come to you. Just tell me where you are now. I'm on Hardin Bridge Road, just off Highway 411. Do you think you can find it that far outside town? I asked, smiling to myself. Yes, smart guy, we have Google Maps, so we can find places these days. We both laughed briefly before she spoke again. Already had dinner? Not yet, I replied. I wasn't in the mood today, and I need to go to the store before I can plan anything resembling a meal. Okay, I'll be there in an hour. Call me when you turn onto Hardin Bridge Road, and I'll meet you at the gate on the right side, about 2.5 miles from the highway. An hour and 20 minutes later, I closed the gate behind a white Ford Expedition, which looked about 6 or 7 years old, and led it to my trailer on the river. A petite woman got out of the driver's door looking lovely in jeans and a loose pullover. Her shoulder-length hair and bright green eyes caught my attention as she reached back into the truck and pulled out a yellow box and a pack of Guinness Stout. I hope you like Cajun fried chicken and real beer. I didn't think you drink light beer. Now that I'm here, I hope my guess was right. I smiled. I don't drink beer often, but when I do, the lightest I can handle is Yuengling. I had an amber bock this evening, but I love a good stout. We went to the camper to eat without being bothered by mosquitoes and flies. After the meal, Stephanie asked me what I knew about her investigation of Sutton real estate. Practically nothing, I replied. I just found out this morning that someone is doing business for the agency. My wife works there, and I found out this weekend that she has been cheating on me for a while now. Stephanie's face went pale. Oh no, not Sarah Gilmore, she said. I didn't make the connection. She looked down at the table, thinking. Yeah, she's been unfaithful for almost a month now, Stephanie continued. It seems they've been getting her involved in their system for months. I think she fully joined 3 weeks ago at a party with some agency clients. I looked out the window, feeling like my marriage was falling apart, and said, She told me she spent the last 6 Saturdays with Jessica Walker at her father's house in Kingston. Stephanie got up, went to the fridge, and brought back 2 cans of beer. She handed me one, and we both poured our drinks into glasses. That may be true for the first 3 weekends, but I think she spent the last 2 differently. Having fun with the other women from the estate agency, I said. And you're saying she did it again this weekend? Yes, Stephanie nodded. On several boats in a bay on Lake Altoona. That makes sense, I sighed. I didn't get any reports of them doing anything in town this weekend. She seemed lost in thought, twirling a can of beer between her hands before speaking again. My case is coming together, and I can't leave your wife out when I file charges. She already faces at least 6 charges. What charges? I asked. Stephanie hesitated, then looked me in the eyes. Solicitation. Violating the Georgia Controlled Substances Act. Maybe more as we go through the evidence. She will be brought in with the rest, just as guilty as everyone else. Her eyes were sad, almost sorry for me. Isolate her, I said. I'm not asking you to protect her. She made her choice. Let her face the consequences. Stephanie paused, nodded, and asked me to show her the video. When it ended, I saved a copy on a flash drive from my bag and gave it to her. She said it wasn't strong on its own, but combined with other evidence, it would be powerful. She told me about her investigation, starting with a complaint from a rival real estate agent. A potential client had asked if she would be willing to sweeten the deal for a sale, as Sutton's agency does. When the agent asked what he meant, he explained that successful sales agents at Sutton's were women because they performed sexual acts to close deals. The agent kicked the client out and then called the police. Stephanie was assigned to the case. The investigation revealed that Sutton was distributing illegal substances and running a small trafficking ring under the cover of a real estate agency. They also planned to include 3 other agencies in their warrant applications. Stephanie and her captain were working with the district attorney, figuring out how to handle the case without causing chaos in the community. Many families might start having doubts, which could lead to more domestic problem reports. She said both investigators and prosecutors were ready to start the warrant process in a week or 2. With the video, they were prepared to begin. It was getting late, and we had finished most of the beer. Stephanie asked if she could stay the night, as she couldn't drive. Look, I don't want to sound rude or make you uncomfortable, but all I can offer is an uncomfortable folding bed, I said. Despite what Sarah did, I've never broken my vows. Until the paperwork is done and the court order is issued, I'm still married. Sorry if I'm overthinking, but we are both a bit drunk, and it's easy to make bad decisions right now. It's okay, Stephanie replied. My only other option would be to sleep in my truck until I sober up. But let's talk about it again when things settle down a bit. Sounds good. Do you have a bag with you? I asked. No, I have a bag at home, but nothing in my truck. There should be a big shirt you can wear if you want. Have you seen the shower head on the hose hanging on the bathroom wall? The whole bathroom is a shower. You can go first. I don't know how long the hot water will last. I'll lower the table and prepare your bed while you finish up in the bathroom. When Stephanie came out of the bathroom, she was still wearing my old Pink Floyd Wish You Were Here t-shirt, which almost reached her knees. It was then that I noticed how well her sweater had hidden her figure. I began to rethink my decision about us sleeping in separate beds. But then I realized that my thoughts only confirmed we needed to keep some distance. What time do you need to be at work in the morning? I asked her. She said she needed to be there by 9, which meant breakfast would be around 7. This would give her enough time to go home and change for work. I then went to my own bedroom and lay down, feeling both sleepy and thoughtful. On Monday morning, I woke up with a dry mouth and a slight headache, but I wasn't exactly hungover. I went to the small bedroom at the end of the camper, determined to start my day. When I got to the stove, I saw Stephanie still in my Pink Floyd t-shirt, and nothing else. She turned to face me and smiled. Good morning, she said, but it's not fair or nice to make me sleep on an uncomfortable pile of pillows. If you're going to tease me like that in the morning, she continued, still smiling. I looked down and realized I was naked. I had been so focused on getting to the bathroom that I forgot to put on clothes. Embarrassed, I walked back to my room and put on some running shorts and a t-shirt. As I returned, I apologized to Stephanie for my accidental exposure. Don't apologize, she said with a grin. I promise I don't mind. We had a quick breakfast and got dressed. Stephanie wore the jeans she had on the day before under my t-shirt. As she buttoned her jeans, she kept her eyes on me and smiled playfully. After finishing our morning routine, I closed the gate as we both left. Stephanie presumably went home to change into clean clothes for work. I arrived at the office earlier than the other detectives and started looking into my open cases. I had 36 active tasks and highlighted 5 to focus on for the day. I checked my phone and saw that I had over a dozen text messages, 16 missed calls, and 9 voicemails. I realized I hadn't heard from Sarah because my phone's ringtone was turned off. Listening to the voicemails, I noticed they went from angry to sad. By the last message, Sarah was crying and asking me to come home. Her texts followed the same pattern. I sent her a message saying I was busy and would talk to her later if I had a chance. At almost 10 a.m., I called the law firm of Parker, Kilgore, and Hughes and asked for Ted's office. Ted Kilgore's office. How may I help you? The secretary said. I need to talk to Ted, please. This is Sean Gilmore. He's expecting my call, I replied. Just a moment, she said. Sean, how are you this morning? Have you done anything silly since we last talked? Ted asked. No, Ted. I moved and am now renting a camper near you. I haven't seen Sarah since Friday, not in person anyway, I said. Did you talk to her? Ted inquired. She blew up my phone yesterday and this morning. I said I'd talk to her later tonight if I had a chance, I told him. Don't try to get back at her. Let me handle it through the court. Were you able to submit the documents this morning? Ted asked. No, it will be tomorrow, likely after lunch, I said. Okay, we need to meet again. There have been some changes since Saturday. Are you representing anyone involved with Sarah? I asked. No, I haven't been approached by anyone related to Sutton Real Estate, Ted confirmed. All right, thanks. Let me know when you submit the documents, I said. Sounds like a plan, Ted replied. We hung up, and I left the office to interview some witnesses for my cases. I managed to keep thoughts of Sarah and Sutton Real Estate out of my mind for a while. Since I had been in the office early, I left at 4:30 p.m. on my way to the river. I stopped at the grocery store to buy enough food to last through the weekend. I limited the refrigerated items to see how much I could store. Back at the camper, I put away the groceries and changed into baggy shorts and a tank top, ready to unwind. I ignored all of Sarah's calls and texts today, but I decided it was finally time to call her. I didn't want to talk about our fight over the phone or through messages. We needed to speak in person, face to face. I wouldn't hide from her or our problems. Just as I was about to dial her number, Stephanie called me. "Hello, detective," she said. "Hey, Gilmore, are you close to the office?" "No, I'm at home. I'm planning to relax this evening. What's up? Are you back home?" "Yes," Stephanie said. Then, realizing she meant the house Sarah and I shared, I added, "No, I'm at the River House now. This is my home." "Oh, well, I have a huge favor to ask, and I'd rather not discuss it over the phone. Can I come over tonight? I can bring dinner." "Sure. Do you like fried pork chops?" "I love them." "Great. I'll get an extra chop ready. The gate will be open. Please close it behind you." "I will. Have you spoken to Sarah?" "I was about to call her when you rang." "Okay, part of the favor is not to mention the video or my investigation for a few days." "I won't mention it until we've talked. See you in about an hour." After hanging up, I dialed Sarah's number. She answered before the first ring ended. "Sean, where are you? You must come home." "I don't need to be there right now. You made your choice and I made mine. I tried to tell you how serious things had become, but you didn't listen. You made your job your priority and disrespected me. I disagree, so I left, until we can sort out the situation." "Is it because of that drone or whatever you call it?" "No, it's not because of the drone. It's just a thing, a tool. I moved because you left me emotionally weeks or even months ago. I'm just giving you the freedom you seem to want and moving on with my life." "You're seeing someone else, aren't you?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Are you serious? I've never even thought about anyone else since I met you." "Maybe I should ask if you've been as faithful, but I'm not sure you can be honest about it." There was a tense silence. Sarah was probably trying to figure out how much I knew. "That's what I thought," I said. "Sean, I always—" "Stop it right now," I interrupted. "Don't you dare say you've always loved me or been faithful. I'm done with this." "You can't leave me. We've been married for 20 years. We have a grown son." Her voice was on the verge of sobs. "We can meet later this week or over the weekend to talk about what to do next. I don't want to do this over the phone. We both deserve better. I'll call you in a few days, but you can start looking for a lawyer." I ended the call and went to the trailer to start marinating 2 thick pork chops in soy sauce and herbs, getting them ready for the grill when Stephanie arrived. Having done that, I read the next few chapters of Dan Brown's Origin, the 5th book in the Robert Langdon series, while listening to the water below. I was lighting the grill when Stephanie arrived. This time she came out of her car with a package of beer, wearing yoga pants and an oversized blouse. I noticed how the blouse, though clearly too big for her small frame, seemed to hint at some insecurity. Still, she looked great to me. She smiled at me. "Hey, I'll be right back." She went into the trailer and came out a few minutes later, still smiling and holding 2 bottles of beer. She handed me one. I took a sip and said, "I hope you don't think I drink every day or use alcohol to handle stress. I actually drink very little beer, but I appreciate your choice. You've managed to pick 2 of my 3 favorite beers." "I'm not a big drinker either," Stephanie said, looking at her bottle. "I like wine more than beer. But you mentioned you liked beer last night, so I thought it'd be nice if I brought some. Are you still going to feed me?" "Of course," I said, noticing the slightly worried look on her face. "Sure, here's a simplified and adjusted version of your provided text. I'm glad you remembered what I said. Thank you. I'm happy to share dinner with you. It's been a long time since I've had company like this." Her real smile made me feel good. "Now, about that favor you mentioned. Have you talked to your wife tonight?" "Yes, I called her right after we spoke earlier. Are you planning to fix your relationship?" "No, that's not an option for me. Why not? You were married for many years, right?" "Yes, but I can't see us getting back together. You can get through this and be happy again." I looked at her, confused. I didn't understand why she was trying to get us back together. Sarah, my wife, never mentioned her as a friend. This conversation felt strange and I didn't like it. "Is this the favor you want? Because if it is, I can't help you." "No, that's not the favor. I just wanted to know your plans. The favor comes if you really plan to get a divorce. I've already started the process. My lawyer wrote the papers today and will file them tomorrow. I want to send them to her at her job as soon as possible. I want to send a message to Sutton about what he did." "Are you filing for divorce because of cheating?" "Yes. So here's the real favor. Stephanie looked like she was thinking hard. I waited for her to speak. She said, "Why don't you check if the grill is ready and we'll start dinner? Then we can continue talking. And also, we need more drinks. Both our bottles are empty." I set up the grill, then went back to help Stephanie prepare the food. Red potatoes, corn, and asparagus with garlic for our grilled chops. I took the marinated chops outside to start cooking. Stephanie came out with 2 new bottles, handing me one. Finally, she spoke. "I met with the district attorney today. We're going to charge all 4 real estate agencies, but we need a video to do that. If you file for divorce now and use the video for evidence, it will reveal what we have before we're ready. But their lawyers will get everything you have anyway. True, but we can control when they get it, which helps us a bit. So you're saying we should think about the many more than the few?" Stephanie smiled. I laughed at the familiar quote. She said, "The Wrath of Khan is one of the best Star Trek movies, but the TV series was better, and Spock was great." I shook my head, flipped the chops on the grill, then walked to the riverbank watching the water. I thought about what Stephanie said. She was asking a lot. After some time, I went back to the trailer. It looked like I'd be drinking more than usual today. "Ready for another drink?" "Sure, I'll have a stout this time. What kind do you want? I'll drink whatever you're having." I washed the glasses from last night and filled them with Guinness. I checked on the potatoes and corn in the oven, then heated the asparagus before going outside again. I had started gathering wood earlier, so I made a fire in a circle of rocks by the river where our chairs were. If I file for a no-fault divorce, I'll have to wait at least 30 days. During this time, everyone can leave without dealing with her cheating. If I wait for her to be convicted, it could take months or years to use it as grounds for divorce. And that's if she's convicted at all. You don't have to wait that long. The DA wants you to wait a week at most. We want to file search warrants against all 4 agencies at the same time for more evidence. You can file and serve her by Friday, but mid-next week at the latest. Let me think about it before we eat. Fine. We decided to eat inside to avoid mosquitoes and flies. Our conversation was light and casual. I enjoyed how easy it felt between us. Basketball, soccer, volleyball, or softball? No, not softball. It's one of the other 3, or maybe all 3. "Why rule out softball?" she asked. "You don't seem like you play softball, but you played one of the other 3. What if I told you I was a cheerleader and didn't like aggressive sports? You'd be lying. You like team sports because of the competition, and you were not a cheerleader." She smiled. Basketball and soccer. We changed topics a few more times before finishing dinner and washing the dishes. After grabbing another bottle from the fridge, we went back outside and started a fire with some driftwood. "Okay," I said. "I'll call Kilgore tomorrow and tell him to wait until Friday afternoon to file the petition." "We can serve Sarah the summons next week," she replied. "That way you can get search warrants before anyone can destroy important papers." "I need to talk to you about something else," I said. "You know Ted Kilgore is handling my divorce, right? I figured that out when you said you would call him tomorrow." "I didn't know he does divorces," I confessed. "I thought he only takes on criminal cases." "He made his name doing divorces early in his career. It's been a while since he's handled them personally." I showed him the video, and he recognized the 2 men with Sarah on the boat. "They're members of his country club. This was before I knew about the investigation. He assured me that I am his main client, and he has no ties with anyone in the video or the Sutton agency. But I don't know who else you're investigating, so I can't be sure. I trust him not to mess up your case, but it's up to you. I wanted you to know he's involved," I said. "Yes, that's important to know. I'll need to talk to the DA about it. I don't want to know when you plan to execute the warrants, and considering my connection, I shouldn't be too involved," she replied. "I agree," I said. After a while, our conversation quieted, and we just listened to the sounds of the night. "It's getting late. You can stay again if you want." "Are you going to be a scout again?" I looked at her, hoping she understood. "Stephanie, I don't have much to offer other than my word. Despite everything Sarah did, I made a promise. Until the paperwork is filed and she is notified, I must keep my oath. If I don't, I'm no better than a traitor. I am so flattered that you're interested, and it took all my willpower not to pull you into the bedroom this afternoon. I hope we can spend more evenings together soon. But for tonight, I will be a scout. If you stay, you'll sleep in the bedroom, and I'll be on the fold-out bed." I finished with a smile. She looked a bit let down, but her voice had a happy note. I hope you have another Pink Floyd shirt. I left the other one at home. I'm sure I can find something for you, I said. I made sure the fire was out and the coals were safe. Then I folded the chairs and put them under the table cover, and we went inside to get ready for bed. What makes you think I wasn't a cheerleader? She asked. Were you? No, she replied. But why are you so sure I wasn't? You're happy to show off your legs and butt in shorts or yoga pants, but you wear baggy tops. Most cheerleaders I know like to show off their chests. And by the way, you're wearing my Pink Floyd shirt. Your breasts are amazing and you shouldn't hide them. She smiled, hiding her blush as she looked at her hands. The next morning I woke up to the click of the bedroom door. Stephanie smiled as she walked past my bed to the bathroom. A few minutes later, she came out wearing my old black Led Zeppelin shirt. It's your turn to cook breakfast, she grinned, then went back to the bedroom. I liked the idea, so I got up, put on my gym shorts, and preheated the oven. I laid out some bacon on a rack and then did my morning routine in the bathroom. When I came back, Stephanie was at the sink, cracking eggs into a bowl. Too many cooks in the kitchen? I joked. I know, but you were taking too long, she said with a smile. After breakfast, she asked if I was still putting off filing for divorce. Yeah, I'll call Ted when I get to the office. I'll probably meet Sarah after work tonight. I want this over with as soon as possible. Maybe then I can check out the barn and think about turning it into a workshop. Are you thinking of staying here for a while? She asked. Yes, I replied. I think so. I like it here. Hunter said he might sell if I wanted to stay. Maybe I should talk to him about it. It suits you, she said, wiping the table. I smiled and put the last dishes away. I don't know how I'll feel tonight after talking to Sarah. Stephanie put the towel down and sat. I hope I didn't give the wrong impression. I'm not looking for a relationship. I like to have fun, and I don't handle jealousy well. I know you've been watching me these last few days. When we eventually get together, I doubt we'll sleep much. I'm not seeking anything exclusive. You're focused on what's important, and I like teasing you. Your strong standards show your good character and make you even more appealing. I think this land will attract many single women from Floyd and Bartow counties soon. She laughed and said, Just remember, I showed interest in you first. She winked. I smiled slyly back at her. Actually, you weren't the first to show interest in me. Really? Well, I need to try harder then. We laughed and finished cleaning. I'll be back shortly, Stephanie said as she walked out. She returned with a duffel bag and a garment bag. As I tucked my shirt into my pants, I asked, Did you come prepared this time? Forget your nightwear? I like wearing a man's shirt to sleep, preferably a long-sleeved button-down shirt. Hint, hint. Got it? Fresh or already worn? I don't like hanger creases, she said, placing both bags on the bed. I laughed. You're trying to get me into trouble. If I wanted to get you into trouble, I'd do it right in front of you. Or at least leave the door open with these words. She closed the door. I opened the gate. She drove by, talking through the open window. I won't go out tonight, but call me if you want to talk. Okay. I locked the gate behind me and headed to the office. I checked the duty board, picked the cases needing the most attention, and started my contacts and interviews. At 10 a.m., I called my lawyer and asked him to delay filing my divorce petition until Friday afternoon, explaining briefly. At lunch, I called Sarah and asked her to meet me at the city's waterfront park. I would bring takeout so we could talk about our marriage. She sounded calmer than I expected, and we agreed on a time and place to meet. It was a productive day overall. I closed one case as exceptionally cleared, one as unfounded, and issued arrest warrants in 2 others. I found a promising lead in a 5th case, but can't pursue it until the witness returns from vacation in nearly 2 weeks. At the end of the day, I discovered I had been assigned 2 new theft cases and 1 child abuse case. Being a crime detective is an endless cycle, and people wonder why we don't see the problems in our own lives and marriages until it's too late. We have so many things and issues in our minds that it takes all our concentration. No one should worry about keeping an eye on their spouse. This is the one person everyone should trust without question. I left work 2 hours early, got soup, salad, and fresh bread from Outback, and met Sarah on the boardwalk. We chose a clean picnic table. She looked sad but resigned. But I wanted us to enjoy our meal before getting to the tough part of our talk. However, neither of us had much appetite. Our conversations were brief, not wanting to dig too deep. As I watched Sarah stir her soup, I closed the lid on my half-full bowl and put it back in the bag. Sarah felt we were reaching the point and put her spoon down, looking past me. "It's too late, isn't it?" "Yes, it is. How much do you know?" "A little. I know you've been lying and cheating on me for weeks, and you lost respect for me even before that." "It was you by the lake, wasn't it?" "Yes, it was me. I knew it was you deep down. After I called you, I was sure. When I hung up, I told Paul that this was the first time you lied to me. I couldn't meet you Saturday night, so I stayed at the motel. I couldn't stay at Jessica's. I know it doesn't change anything, but I'm sorry. I'm not just sorry I got caught. I wish I hadn't made those decisions. In hindsight, they weren't worth it. Costs are often higher than we expect. If you saw what happened at the lake, you'll see there's more here than divorce. Detectives came with warrants, took account files, and interviewed everyone. So, something is up. How much time do I have? I don't know. I'm not involved except with you. All I can say is get a good lawyer. And if someone offers you an opportunity, it might be worth taking. Thanks. I might call Ted Kilgore. Ted can't help. He works for you now? Yes, he has documents. He might contact you next week. I want you to know you did nothing wrong. I was feeling bored and made some bad choices by listening to the wrong people. Deep down, I knew they were lying to me. That's why I was so upset when you showed me what Jessica was really like. But the truth is, I was mad at myself, not at you. I knew you were right. I felt ashamed because I let myself get distracted and then took it out on you. You were a dreamer. And despite what I said last weekend, the world needs more people like you. I think that's why you didn't get bored like I did. I bet you never cheated on me during our marriage, right? Honestly, I've been tempted lately, but no, I never cheated on you. I never thought about it until last weekend. Well, call Ted and ask him to send me the papers. I'll sign them tonight. Tomorrow? Whenever. I'm really sorry. I love you. I'm just sorry I let things slip. You can have the house. I don't see myself living there anymore. I don't want it either. There are too many memories. Let's sell it and split the money. Okay. If you think this is best for you. Actually, I don't know how long my license will be valid, but I will get an appraisal and put it up for sale. How badly do you want to sell it? Just make sure someone can call it home. Whatever suits you. I said, I will contact Donovan and set up a Zoom meeting when he is available, so we can tell him the news together. Hopefully, it will be easier for him this way than hearing it from someone who doesn't really know what's going on. She nodded, looked at me with teary eyes, then turned and walked to her car and drove off. I picked up our trash and threw it in the dumpster before getting in my truck and heading home. Once home, I sat in a folding chair by the river. I called Stephanie and told her about my meeting with Sarah. She confirmed what Sarah said about the search warrants and agreed there's no point in delaying the divorce any longer. I don't know how much of her opinion was personal, but I called Ted after talking to Stephanie. My lawyer assured me he would file the papers on Wednesday morning and serve Sarah with the notice in the early afternoon. It was still light when I finished my calls. Sitting in that folding chair, watching the river flow became my favorite thing to do. I decided to make another call and opened my contacts list on my phone. "Hello, Mr. B," a small voice said. "Well, hello to you too, Miss Katie. How are you today?" "I'm fine. Do you want to talk to my mom? She's here." "Sure. It was nice talking to you, Miss Katie." "Okay." "Hi. You called earlier than I expected. I'm glad." "Well, a lot has happened in the last few days, and I thought it would be nice to talk when I'm less confused and frustrated. How are you?" "Everything is fine here. Nothing special is happening. What about you? Are you handling things?" "Yes. I moved on Sunday. My lawyer finished the paperwork, and Sarah will get notice tomorrow afternoon." "Does she know what's going on?" Samantha asked. "Yes, we met today and talked about everything. She agreed to sign the papers when she gets them and won't fight it. Of course, I won't try to get every penny out of it. I just want to start over and let her do the same. Besides, I think she has bigger problems than just the divorce. Understand?" "Can you talk about this?" she asked. "Maybe later this week when things are clearer. I'm not in the middle of this conflict right now." "Well, I just wanted to check in, see if you disappeared after giving me the wrong number on Saturday. I was a bit confused, and you could have told me anything then. I didn't even ask about you, not even your name. You should have offered it before I left and gave you the number myself. I wasn't in the best condition." "I still don't know where you live." "I usually stay between Rome, Taylorsville, and Cartersville. I said, laughing briefly in surprise. You'll give me a complex if you keep reacting like this every time I tell you something about myself, she said, amused. I'll explain everything someday. If I try now, you'll think I'm making things up. Okay, I'll accept it for now, but not for long. I heard her smile. Well, part of it is that we might be 5 miles apart. I'm renting a place on Harding Bridge Road by the river just below the boat launch. Oh, I know that place. There's a piece of land with an old barn. I go there because it's so beautiful, and the surprises keep coming, I said gloomily. What? Samantha asked, confused. Why don't you come over? I think I know where you're talking about, and I'll meet you there. Okay, see you in 10 minutes. I stood by the open gate when a black Nissan Juke slowed down, and Samantha Kelly drove through the gate with wide eyes. She rolled down the window and looked surprised. This is it. This is the place I was talking about. There's a barn and there must have been a house. And this is where you live? Yes, I'm renting now, though I'm thinking about buying the land. I live in a camper through those trees. Follow me. I walked about 70 yards to the camper while Samantha drove slowly beside me. When we got there, Samantha helped Katie out of her car seat, and we both shouted, "Stay away from the shore!" When the little 4-year-old girl ran around to the front of her mom's car, we both smiled and said at the same time, "Remember middle school?" It made us laugh out loud. We sat down at a picnic table under the shade and talked. We learned more about each other. Samantha was 24 years old. She got pregnant with Katie in her first year at Kennesaw State University. She married Katie's dad before Katie was born. Her ex-husband was never happy. He blamed Samantha for getting pregnant on purpose to make him marry her, thinking she'd get to be a stay-at-home mom. Their marriage didn't last 2 years. Her ex didn't want to stay with just one partner, so he left and moved to California. They didn't hear from him for almost 3 years. Samantha and Katie moved in with her parents in New Harley so she could finish her degree. Samantha is now a nurse at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta in Kennesaw. She still lives in a basement apartment at her parents' house with Katie. We watched Katie throw rocks and sticks into the river while she sang songs. "Have you eaten yet?" I asked. "No, I need to feed Katie," Samantha replied. "How about we make some burgers or hot dogs? It's still early, and you can put her to bed after dinner." "Katie, would you like a hot dog?" Samantha asked. Katie jumped with joy. "Yes, yes, yes." "If everyone wants hot dogs, we can cook them over the fire and even roast marshmallows after dinner," I said. Samantha agreed. I used some wood in the stone ring to start a new fire, and soon we had hot coals ready for cooking. Samantha, Katie, and I prepared sausages, buns, condiments, chips, and tea. We took everything to the picnic table. I showed Katie how to cook the sausage over the coals. Katie soon got tired and sleepy. "You'll have to save the marshmallows for next time," I told Samantha. Katie fell asleep in her car seat before they even left. I said goodbye to Samantha through the car window, locked the gate after she drove away, and headed back to clean up. I made sure the fire was out, then took a shower and went to bed. The next morning, I felt like something was missing. I didn't realize how important good communication was. I had been married for over 20 years. But now I see that in the past few months, maybe years, my marriage felt like living with a roommate rather than a partner. Waking up alone made me see that my marriage was over and I was single again. My wife and I grew distant, and I didn't try to connect with her. It wasn't all her fault. I stopped paying attention to her long ago. My marriage became comfortable but dull, like an old leather jacket that needs care but was ignored. I failed to keep our relationship strong and it fell apart. This doesn't excuse her betrayal, though. I never thought of cheating. I knew it wasn't inevitable for her either. I messaged Ted to let me know when the divorce papers were ready and then went to work. At the office, I did my usual tasks. I checked the duty board for any special activities, logged into the computer to read the latest patrol reports, and looked at names or addresses related to my cases. I reviewed the backgrounds of people mentioned in new cases and started logging activities for them. Before leaving, I scheduled a meeting with a caseworker for a child abuse case. Around 9:30, my phone rang as I parked. Ted Shark's name appeared on the screen. "Hey, buddy, how did it go?" I asked. "Yes, the papers are filed. Your divorce has officially started. I thought you might want to handle giving them to Sarah yourself, so I haven't sent them to the sheriff's department yet." After our talk yesterday, I think she accepted the situation and won't fight it. She said she would sign everything without any trouble. Let me call her to arrange a meeting or have your lawyer review the papers first, I suggested. Sounds good to me, Ted replied. After meeting Mickey Ramsey, a cheerful blonde I had worked with on several cases before, I talked to her about the current case. She said she would pass it on to the CID. Then I called Sarah. Hey, Sean, are the documents ready? She asked. Yes, I said. Ted has them. Just tell me when and where would be best for you and I'll get them to you. Or I can give them to your lawyer to review before you sign. I didn't hire a lawyer, Sarah replied. You've always been fair, even with those you investigated. I trust you haven't changed. I assume you're proposing to split everything equally. Donovan is grown up, so no child support, right? Yes, I confirmed. We sell the house, split the money equally, pay off debts, and divide what's left. We each keep our cars and pensions. It's the fairest way. But what if something goes wrong without a lawyer? She asked. You'll have to trust me, I said. I've always been better at judging people. Fine, she agreed. I'll sign the papers today so we can both move on. Thank you, I said, and hung up. Then I called another contact. Hey, Gilmore, is the camper okay? Yes, Dave, everything is fine. Actually, I wanted to ask you if you still wanted to sell me some land. Do you want the full 37 acres? 37 acres? I thought it was only 3, I said, surprised. There's a bit over 4 acres of riverbank plus another 33 acres on the other side of the road, he explained. Wow, that's a lot, I said, feeling unsure. Are you buying it to live on or as an investment? Honestly, I love it here. I'd like to build a house, but 37 acres is a lot to manage, I said. How about we meet tonight, catch some catfish, and discuss it over dinner, he suggested. Sounds good. I'll be there by 6 p.m. I'll get the cornmeal and chicken livers. I managed to close another burglary case, returned stolen items, and got arrest warrants for the suspect. I was arranging a forensic evaluation for a minor listed in a case when I got a call from Parker, Kilgore, and Hughes. After finishing my work, I called Ted back. Hey, Sean, I wanted to tell you that Sarah signed the papers and I filed them with the court. We're just waiting for the judge's signature and you'll be divorced. Wow, it's that simple? I asked. Marriages aren't what they used to be. Now they're just a convenience or inconvenience depending on your perspective. I'll send you the bill, Ted said. Thanks, I'll pay it. Let's go fishing sometime. See you later, he said. I finished the activity logs for my cases, logged off, and made a mental list of groceries I needed. Then I went home and changed into comfortable clothes. I found a machete under the camper and cleared the brush along the riverbank behind the camper. I discovered a path and stone steps leading to a ledge about 3 feet above the water. After 45 minutes of hard work, the place was much better for fishing or swimming if the water was deep enough. I knew I would shower before bed, but I felt so sweaty that I needed it now. After my shower, I stepped out to find David sitting in a folding chair, watching kayakers go by. Relaxing, isn't it? Dave asked without taking his eyes off the water. Every day I like it here more and more, I replied. Glad to hear that, he said, unfolding another chair and placing it by the fire ring. I've spent many summer days here. Best place for swimming on this part of the river. Great spot for catching catfish, too. Motorboats won't work here, but kayaks and canoes are perfect. Downstream, you can wade in without getting your shirt wet, but right here it's about 12 to 15 feet deep and the water's pretty clear. I grew up here, left after high school and joined the Army. My parents died when the house burned down in '86. Nothing was left but 2 chimneys and a foundation. I couldn't bring myself to rebuild. A developer wants to buy the site to build houses. My dad wouldn't be happy with that. I can't keep paying taxes on an empty lot. I bought a camper to rent out to cover taxes and make a little extra money. But now we're thinking about moving to Savannah or Blue Ridge. My only family is a cousin in Gadsden, and we're not on good terms. We chuckled at that. I don't know why I'm so stubborn about the land, David continued, but let's cast our fishing rods and I'll tell you what's on my mind. Sure, I said with a nod. We set up 2 fishing rods with chicken liver for bait and tossed them into the river. Then we grabbed some folding chairs and a bottle of Amberbach beer from the camper's fridge. Dave sat down and started, Here's my offer. If you buy all 37 acres and promise not to sell it to a builder who'd put up houses so close you'd smell your neighbor's breath in the morning, I'll finance it myself at 3% interest and sell it to you for $40,000. Add another $5,000 if you want to keep the camper. Give me 10% as a down payment when you can, and you can include the entire deposit towards buying the camper. You won't get a deal like this anywhere else, and no one else will. That's quite a deal. Normally I'd need time to think, but I'd be foolish to pass this up, unless you have hidden back taxes or other fees. All taxes are paid, he said. No liens, claims, or court issues. I own it fully and can sell it to you. If everything checks out, we have a deal. We'll need a lawyer to make it official, I said. Dave stood up, walked to his truck, and returned with a manila folder, which he handed to me. Inside were multiple copies of a sales contract outlining the terms he'd just described. I'd say you planned this all along, I remarked. I saw it in your eyes the other day. Figured we'd get here sooner or later, so I called my lawyer on Monday. I'll need to withdraw some money from the bank tomorrow. Dave nodded, approving silently. Just then I heard an engine and turned to see a white Ford Expedition. Stephanie stepped out, smiling, holding a 12-pack of Yuengling beer. Hey, Scout, how are you, Dave? Hi, Stephanie, Dave replied, smiling. 3 out of 3. You're still trying to get me in trouble, huh? I joked. Yes, I am, she teased with a grin. We caught 10 catfish and cooked them with hash browns on the grill, sitting at a picnic table as the sun set. After dinner, Dave said he needed to go home before his wife worried. We walked him to his truck and shook hands. I'll stop by the bank first thing tomorrow and get the money, I said. Fine, I'll take this contract to the court and start transferring the plot into your name, Dave agreed. Thanks for the trust, I said. After signing, whatever you do with the property is up to you, but I bet you don't want neighbors you can see or hear their arguments. I smiled and nodded. Dave drove away, leaving me and Stephanie. She handed me a bottle of beer. We sat by the fire, enjoying the calm evening. I see you cleared up the area. Now you can see the river better, she said. Yeah, I might buy some wood this weekend and start building stairs to the dock, I replied. So are you buying the plot? Staying here? She asked. Yep, it's official. Signed the contract today, I confirmed. Good, she said, smiling. We talked for a bit until she suddenly said, I heard a rumor today. A rumor? I asked, curious. Yeah, are you ready to earn your achievement badge, Scout? She asked playfully. I've already earned almost everything in Scouts, I said. Maybe, but this one's not in the handbook, she teased. Put out the fire and meet me inside. She walked to the camper. I wanted to join her, but I was nervous. My last relationship had ended months ago, and I hadn't been with anyone since. Still, I trusted Stephanie. I put out the fire and made sure it was safe before heading into the camper. After taking a shower, I found Stephanie lying on the bed, a sheet covering her waist. She looked beautiful, her hair spread out across the pillow. I slid under the covers and turned towards her, pulling her close for a kiss. We were not in a hurry, but we couldn't really relax either. The friendly tension between us slowly turned into a warm feeling. We shared an intimate moment. She cuddled up against my left side, resting her head on my shoulder. I softly stroked her back with my hand. Stephanie swung her leg over mine and gently played with my chest hair. We lay there quietly for a few minutes before she spoke. I have to admit, it felt right. I hope you don't feel too guilty still, she said. I know it's hard to change those feelings overnight. Understand? It lasted for 6 years for me, which is way too long. She seemed like she needed to share her story. Misery loves company, right? So I just listened. Brant was the classic jock. Arrogant, selfish, controlling. At school, he was admired by everyone. Students, teachers, even parents. We graduated hand in hand and went to college together, where things started to fall apart. He didn't get the football scholarship he expected. He didn't even make the team. He was so angry, he refused to wear the school colors again. Stephanie chuckled at the memory. When he moved from the small pond of high school to the big ocean of university, he wasn't a big fish anymore, she said. It ate him up inside. He wanted to delay our wedding until after graduation. I knew he was unhappy at school, so I thought marrying him might help him feel better. So we got married during the winter break before spring classes started. Things were fine for a while. We finished our first year and I suggested summer courses to graduate faster. But Brant said he needed a break. I got a paid summer internship with the sheriff's department, which was great for my criminal justice major. About a month before fall classes, Brant came home and said he got a full-time job at a brewery. I asked him if he could handle classes with his new job. He said it might be best to take a semester off to earn money. I then realized he would never go back to school. It wasn't so bad, though. He made good money at the brewery, especially when he started bartending on tours and on weekends. I stayed a full-time student, working part-time, and got paid internships every summer. We lived better than most students, at least those without rich parents. Looking back, he was probably already seeing other people and drinking every day. I kept stroking her back and hand, letting her continue. After I graduated, he tried to get me to work at the brewery, but I wanted to work in law enforcement. He didn't like that. He thought law enforcement was a man's job. I knew he was controlling, but I didn't find out until later that he was selling illegal substances through the brewery. He had been doing it since he started working there. He didn't want his police officer wife threatening his business. She turned her head to look at me, and I looked back at her. I know what it's like to ask yourself, how did I not see this? She said. I nodded, and she went back to her comfortable position. Despite the problems, I got a job at the department where I interned and loved it. I did well and got promoted several times in 2 years. The arguments with Brant got worse. We fought, sometimes even physically. The last fight ended with him hitting me and me defending myself with my baton. He left with tires squealing, and then I heard a siren. I didn't look out the window. I turned off my phone, put it down, took a shower, and went to bed. The next morning, I called my captain and asked for a week off. He gave me as much time as I needed, saying he had an idea of what happened. He told me Brant had been arrested for drunk driving and caught with a lot of illegal substances. My world fell apart. I feared losing my job and everything I worked for, but my captain assured me I had nothing to worry about. So I went home to stay with my mom for a week. We talked about my options and other silly things to take our minds off Brant. I spoke with a lawyer to start the divorce and got a copy of the papers to take with me. I asked one of my colleagues to do me a favor and deliver the divorce papers to Brant in jail. After he managed to get the bail money, Brant seemed to decide it was best not to see me anymore. He didn't come to the apartment when I was there. One day, I came home from work and found all his stuff was gone. He even took the furniture from the living room. He left me without a TV or a computer. I thought it was a small price to pay to get rid of him. She turned on her back, and I lay on my left side, folding the pillow to prop my head up so I could see her face better. I started gently touching her belly as she kept talking. I lasted almost 6 more months before the whispers and suspicious looks became too much to ignore. People thought I must have known about Brant's illegal activities since I lived with him for so long. They believed I somehow avoided getting in trouble with him. There were even rumors that said I was in on it. During one of my visits to see my mom, I applied to the city police department and got an interview the next day. When I explained my situation, I saw doubt in the lieutenant's eyes and I started to feel less sure of myself. I told him to call my captain at the sheriff's office to talk about me. The following week, I got a call asking when I could take the psychological and physical exams, and if I passed, I could start once I notified the sheriff's department. After 3 weeks, I swapped my brown uniform for a blue one. We lay quietly for a few minutes before she spoke again. I've been divorced for 11 years, and although I love going on dates, I don't date seriously, she said. Well, it's nice to know, but I'm a bit embarrassed too. I can't see myself wanting to seriously date someone for a long time, I replied. I'd be silly not to want to spend time with you when we can, though. As I mentioned the other day, you'll be very popular with some single women I know, and soon. But right now, you're mine. She pushed me onto my back, placed her leg over my hips, and started kissing me. We were close again. You should start taking vitamins for strength. You might even have to remove the barrier on the road, she teased. Okay, you've been hinting at something. Just tell me, I said. She smiled at me. I told you I don't date, but I like having fun. Many of us here have had bad marriages or serious relationships. We have a group where we don't have to be lonely or risk another bad relationship. How does this work for you? I asked. It's not perfect, but it's good. Sometimes people here decide to be together exclusively, and it works out. We've had a few who couldn't handle their jealousy when they liked someone else. They might have been the problem in their previous relationships. Now, we have a group of almost 24 people. You've already talked to some of them." "Really? Who?" I laughed. "A couple of men and one woman," she answered with a smile. "Well, who is this woman?" I asked. "You'll know if you decide to join us. It's not really a test. I think you'll fit in and you'll like it. But if it's not for you, I hope you'll still be happy to see me. This has been the best night I've had in years, and I won't stay away." I smiled and hugged her before turning off the light. "Good night, Boy Scout. Good night, Beauty," she said. We must not have moved during the night because when I woke up, we were still in the same position as when we fell asleep. I tried to remember the last time I woke up with a woman cuddling me in my sleep. It had been months. It seemed wrong to wake Stephanie, but we both needed to get ready for work. I leaned over and kissed her forehead, turning her content smile into a broad grin. "Good morning, Boy Scout. Good morning, Beauty," she replied. "I could get used to this every morning. You better not spoil me too much, especially after what I said yesterday about being a free spirit," she said, stretching and yawning. "It's a shame we don't have time to play this morning, but we both have to work soon," I sighed. Stephanie pouted. "At least you brought clean work clothes so you don't have to rush home first," she noted. I quickly dressed while bacon cooked in the kitchen, filling the trailer with a delicious smell. "I know this isn't the best time, but I need to tell you something," she said. My fingers paused on the third button of my shirt. "Yesterday, I mentioned a rumor about you, but I didn't say who I heard it from." I waited for Stephanie to finish getting ready. Sarah came to the office yesterday afternoon. She wanted to speak with the head detective on the realtor case. When she got to my desk, she said she wanted to confess her role and testify against the other employees in the agency. She gave a written statement explaining how she got involved, how she helped with sales, and how much Sutton paid her. She dated several clients but didn't ask for any leniency. Sarah wanted to admit her mistakes and start her punishment. She said she had hurt the only person she ever loved. Because of her actions, she lost the one thing she valued, her marriage. She admitted to sleeping with 5 different clients, one of them twice. She said she never slept with Sutton. He only touches his wife. Instead, he uses trusted employees to find new girls for the program. He's afraid of being accused of harassment if he recruits them himself. Jessica was the one who introduced Sarah. Sutton's wife, Carmen, apparently provides pills for erectile dysfunction and distributes illegal substances to make extra money. Other girls aren't trusted with the drugs. I talked to the prosecutor before leaving the office. We're meeting today to discuss our options. I'm telling you this because I need to know what you want to do about Sarah." "What do you mean?" "I have nothing to do with your investigation," I replied. "No, but you were pulled into this mess and she lied to you. She betrayed you. Anyone would understand if you wanted to see her suffer without mercy. No, that's not my style. I don't enjoy seeing her in pain. Destroying her won't fix what happened. Do what helps your case the most. Don't worry about me. Look at this place. I'm already healing. Every day here is better than the last. I'm afraid of tomorrow because I fear if I blink, everything will disappear and I'll wake up in my old life." Well, what we discussed with the court is that in exchange for her testimony and pleading guilty to 6 charges of sex trafficking, the prosecutor recommends 12 months in prison and a $1,000 fine for each charge, to be served at the same time. Since she has no criminal history, the prosecutor suggests she serve 1 year of probation and pay half of the fine. What about Sutton? We are still gathering charges against him. He currently faces at least 28 charges for pimping, aiding, or abetting sex work, and 3 for running a brothel. We are also adding charges related to drugs. He could face several years in prison and a big fine. Sarah will have a year of probation and a $3,000 fine. Sutton's real estate agency won't survive this. I'm sure of it. Sarah will lose her real estate license, her home, her family, and her good name among our friends. Why did she do all this? Was she bored? Did she fall in love with money or the power over these men? If you want to know, ask her. She seemed broken when I spoke to her yesterday. Catching her almost broke me, I muttered. You'll start to feel better soon. I think I am, I said with a smile. Now tell me who in the group I met this week. Mickey, she said with a smile. Mickey Ramsey from the Department of Children and Families. Not the one I suspected, I said. Yes, she hoped you would offer her lunch during your meeting yesterday. Wow, I replied. Stephanie finished getting ready to leave with a playful smile. I'll call you this afternoon to update you on the prosecutor's case. After we finished getting dressed and had a quick breakfast, we headed out to face the day. See you later, Boy Scout. Do you think I've outgrown that nickname? I asked. Maybe, but I still like when you call me beautiful, she replied with a smile I was starting to love. Well, I hope your day is at least half as wonderful as you are. Nice line, she said with a sparkle in her eye. She leaned over and kissed my cheek, then turned, and I followed her to the door. Hey listeners, if you enjoyed watching this video and want to stay updated with our latest content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss out on what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video with Queen Cheating Tales.